Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts, and this podcast is ranked in the top 2% of the most popular podcasts globally, and it's all because of my incredible guests. And I feel incredibly fortunate to spend time with people who are at the top of their game, and they join this show and this podcast, and they're passionate about helping you achieve your goals in both your personal and professional life. My guests don't hold anything back. They're here to share the secrets of peak performance with us, and I know you'll find their insights both inspiring and actionable. So sit back, relax, and get ready to take your life and business to the next level. So my guest today, Alexandre Mars, is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, founder and CEO of the investment firm, and I'm probably not going to pronounce this correctly, Blisce or Blisce, I'm not sure, and the Epic Foundation. And he began his career as an entrepreneur at the age of 17. So 15 years later, after tireless work to launch and develop successful startups, he sold his last two companies to Publicis. You're going to have to correct me, I'm sorry, and BlackBerry.
No,
that one I can say.
No, Dennis, it's perfect. There's Blisce, is Publicis. You're right just since the very start.
Oh, good, thank you. So creating tech companies was never his end goal, believe it or not. And his entrepreneurial success allowed him to have enough financial security to fuel a much bigger social ambition that he has carried around with him since his teenage years, and that is to be of use to society. So that's why he decided to leverage his entrepreneurial skills, his network, knowledge, wealth, and influence to scale his impact and contribute to a more just and fair society. And we're going to talk about that. Welcome. I wanted to tell about the book very quickly. So Mission Impossible is
Mission Possible.
Alexandre.
No,
Mission Possible.
Mission Possible.
And I knew better when I said it. When I said, I went, no.
It's possible. That's what we're saying. You can't build your business. It's possible.
Right. And that's your motto when it comes to entrepreneurship. So that's why he decided to share his knowledge and experience by writing the book Mission Possible, How to Build a Business for Our Times, and designing a masterclass address to the entrepreneurs of today and tomorrow. And I have that book. Alexandre, thank you for sending it to me, and welcome, Partner in Success Radio.
Thank you, Dennis, for having me. Thank you.
Well, I was so excited when I got the request to, possibly interview you, and then we had I always have a pre-interview because I need to know who you are, what you want to talk with my audience about. Are we going to be able to converse? Some people just are not that great speaking on the fly, and you are. So I was like, once we had that call and I got the book, I'm very excited to talk about so much of what it is that you do, because this is kind of a new topic for my show. So this is kind of groundbreaking, I have to say.
So no, I'm very fortunate and lucky to, as you said, I love you the way you put it. It's conversation, and it's a good point. Just now, you learn when you listen. You don't learn when you talk. That's why I love chatting with people. And as an entrepreneur, to be honest with you, that's I think one of my top skills is to spend time with people and asking questions, and you know what, listening to the answers.
Listening is so important. And listen, and I will tell anybody who will listen, I've been doing this podcast for 15 years. I was a very early adopter. And I get to meet people like you from all over the world. In fact, I think you're calling in from France, aren't you?
Yeah, I am in Paris.
Right. So it's an international show. But as far as I'm concerned, when I get your books, I read your books, when I have the opportunity to speak with you and learn from you, you just became my mentor in many, many ways.
No, thank you for saying it. But it's interesting what you're saying about mentorship. In the world of today, sometimes we we don't want to have mentors. We think we are tough enough and smart enough to have no mentors. But the truth is, let's be humble. Life is hard. Business is tough. Decisions are hard to make. So yes, we need mentors. They won't just change our lives, but sometimes they will help us. And the book is interesting that you mentioned with the book. The book, I wrote this book for people like me 10, 15, even 5 or 20 years ago. And I did start many businesses, as you said, but I would have loved, I think, just this guide with me. So, okay, what should I do now? What other people have done? So that's the reason why I went and I interviewed just 30 entrepreneurs from different industries, different regions. I said, how have you been successful? And give us the tips, because we need tips. We need advices, and that's the reason why your podcast is so successful, because people, they want to learn. And I strongly believe, and that's why a podcast is such a great tool for this. We have to learn. We have to listen.
Absolutely. And because we get to hear you and hear my guests, we get to pick up on nuances that we may not read. We may not be, we'll see a social media meme, or we'll read a blog post, or we'll read an article about you. But the nuances come from hearing you. We can hear what you're passionate about. We can hear what you're excited about.
Yeah.
We can hear what you really are in love with. Yes, we can pick up some of that reading, and listen, I'm a voracious reader. I read everything, including the back of a cereal box, and I hate cereal. Don't eat the stuff. But if it's in front of me and it's printed, I'll read it. But meeting you on a podcast, and in your podcast, I listened to part of it, and my French is lousy, so I couldn't really understand much of it. I live in Cajun country. You would think I would understand it. Well, Cajun country and France are very different things. It's a different language, really. But
I like Cajun. Just it's
Cajun.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of it. I'm right smack in the middle of it.
Yeah, my best friend is from New Orleans, so it's. So I've been there just many. I was there just months ago, so it's funny. He does speak Cajun. My best friend, he doesn't speak French.
It's very different, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah.
It's always interesting to see him when he's in France. It's hard, but anyway.
I know, and I live equidistant between Hurricanes Katrina and Rita, so I'm 100 miles away from New Orleans, and I'm 50 miles away from Texas. So anytime something comes barreling down the road, I just look at my front door and wish it well, because it's going to come to my front door most of the time. So it is.
Yeah, more and more. Yeah.
I know, but I've been reading your book, and I kind of want to. This chapter just absolutely grabbed me. And it's chapter 13. The once-in-a-lifetime idea happens every day. I'm not going to argue with you about that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people. You mentioned chapters. The way the book has been built is really just around just many different chapters, and every single chapter is just you saw this. It's a story. It's something. A tip you need to see. Do you want to start your business by yourself, or do you think it's better to start with a partner? What is the concept of big idea? How do you can seduce, or you can get financing, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting that you like just this once in a lifetime idea. And why do you like this one?
It opens up. I'm going to read it. All of the companies that I have started and sold have one thing in common. At the time they were sold, the products they offered had little to do with the original idea for the business. And I found that fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying. It's it's same. I think it's for a lot of different people. They don't see just. They believe that the idea day 1 should be the same day 2 and day 15. The truth is, it will never be the same. So you need to be ready to pivot, and it's all about this. And it's a mindset, to be honest, and you know this. But all the time it's 2 things. 1, you need to be able to change a bit the direction, and 2, that's also important in that case. You need to challenge yourself. So every day, you need to see how can you improve your product, your behavior, your team, everything. And that's hard because sometimes this you do something, it works okay, it works well, or you believe the worst, you believe it works well, and that's why it's every single morning you need to ask yourself those questions. Don't you think maybe the change of direction, even slight change of direction still, and how can you still challenge yourself every day?
Well, how do you challenge yourself every day? Because, listen, I don't know about you. I jump out of bed, the devil says, oh, crap, she's awake, and off I go. And I have to stop myself at many, many points during the day and say, take stock. What are you doing? Are you racing around, batting at windmills? What are you doing? What's up next? What's priority? Where is this going? And that slows me down, I'll be honest with you. But I need to be slowed down. I really do.
But it's interesting what you have just said. The question is also why. So what you just said is why. Why going that quick or that fast? Where are you going? Why are you going there? So sometimes it's important also to redefine what is important, what is not. And depending of your answer, some people, and like you decided to leave far from big cities. A lot of people have said, no, there's no way. I will work, and I will leave in Dallas or in New York. And it's important to understand why we haven't decided this. And that's, to me, important in what we do in our work, in a success. Even the definition of success, Denise, could be different. It has to be different. And you and me, we grew up, and many people, many listeners, we grew up in the world, in the U.S. Maybe you haven't said this, but I've been living in the U.S. or lived in the U.S. for years and years and years. I lived in New York. Still, in the U.S., it's the same elsewhere. But it was, okay, how can I get a bigger car? How can I get a bigger office? How can I have more zeros on my bank account? What is interesting nowadays, it's less this, your successful goals or why you will enjoy and your life, and that's something important. So changing yourself should start with this. Why? Why we do what we do? Do you really want to work 18 hours a day?
No.
Do you really want? And for some people, it is still yes, less maybe, but still. And that's also a point about entrepreneurship. That's why you're an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur. We're different type of entrepreneurs. Why I wrote this book? Because for so many people, still, entrepreneurs, if you are not in New York, in San Francisco, or in Miami, if you don't work in the tech world, you are a B- entrepreneur. It's not true. You don't have to raise $65 million to be an entrepreneur. You can be just your own entrepreneur. You can, do stuff that fulfill you, and then it's more just what is your definition of success, Denise, or mine, and that's something important. So to answer your question about how you challenge, first you have to challenge yourself, asking a few good questions, and after you still need to, because you have been able to define a certain just target goal. You need to see, every day, how can you be sure you will achieve that goal? And to be clear, it's fine if you don't always, reach your goal. It's okay. It's don't put you under too much pressure. It's more just you put everything you can to achieve that objective and goal. So I think it's interesting, the challenge part of our lives. It's a very, very important part, but we need to be very honest and with ourselves.
Exactly. And listen, I have worked 18-hour days. I mean, I'm a workaholic. I'm an A-type personality. I know this. And I would rather work and cook and read than do just about anything else. Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I'm an introvert. So while I like people, I love people, but I can only be around most of them for about 59 3/4 minutes. After that, my brain gets busy and I have to go I'm not kidding. I've timed it. It's a true story. But I need to be alone. I need to be in my own head, thinking and plotting and planning and discarding and, having chats with myself like, Denise, really? You thought that was a good idea? What the heck is wrong with you? And then off I go. But I know who I am and I know how I operate. So I created my own business out of nothing, out of whole cloth. And thank goodness it's done well. But I have to say, in my own defense, I wasn't going to fail. I refused.
Yeah. But why? Because that's something in the book.
That's a good question.
What drove you there? Because
pig-headedness. I'm pig-headed. Seriously. Mm-hmm. I don't want to work with other people. You can't place me in somebody else's office no matter what you offer to pay. I don't play well with others. I run with scissors. And if you want coffee, you can get it your own damn self. I'm not going to do it. So I need to be on my own, obviously.
But when did you realize this? At 20, at 15, at 25?
I think I always knew it. I've always owned my own business. But then when 2008 came along, and honestly, there were bumper stickers in the back of vehicles here in Southwest Louisiana that said, last person out, turn off the lights. It was awful. And I had to close down my business. I went back to school, got a computer science degree, and started my current business, which is about 20 years old now. But I just wasn't going to fail. I knew by then that I didn't need to be people-facing all of the time. Didn't matter if I was the owner or the jeweler or whatever it was that I was doing in this business. I needed to be in front of a computer. I always knew somehow that I would earn my living with a computer. I always knew.
That's interesting because I asked this question back to the book. I went to talk to so many entrepreneurs, Ben from Pinterest to Travis from Bird and so many others. And I asked those questions, why? So only not why this business and even the names. You saw the chapter on names. Why Pinterest is Pinterest, why Bird is Bird, and so on. So it's very interesting because I got this demand so many times from people. I need to find a name, and it's hard. So I'm trying to give some tips. But what is interesting is the drive. Why? Why you were able to work 18 hours a day, and so it's not easy to work that hard. Why? What is your drive, and what is driving you there? And it's very interesting. And most of the time, it comes from your childhood and something you need to succeed. You need money, or you need independence, like huge kind of independence for you from others. There is something. Same. You need to define what is this something. But we all have, and that's something also important about what I'm always saying. The Instagram life doesn't exist. So let's stop the BS. Let's stop the BS. We are not perfect. Just we post stuff that was or not totally true, and we know this, and people enjoy it. But if we keep pushing or keep trying to convince people that this life does exist, we'll be miserable because it will be only frustration. Just life is hard. Tough is hard. Family is tough. Not the few, but still, we can be happy. We need to also get our small victories. Don't try to get huge victories. I think small wins. It's a lot. We grew up, or when I was 15. I'm sure it's the same for you and for the people who are listening to us. We're living in a world where yes, big wins will change the world. You know what? Sometimes it could be small wins. It's okay. It's okay, and that's also about the book. It's okay. Some people, they want big wins, others want small wins. It's okay. There is no one way is better than the other. What is important is to understand that take your time. It would take you a lot of effort. You need to be surrounded by good people. when you don't know something, trying to find someone else who will be able to do it, even within your team. That's sometimes basic stuff, but it works. At least I'm doing it for 25 years, and I've been pretty successful, as you said.
And what is that old saying? Slow and what is it? Slow and easy. What is it? I had it a minute ago. Slow and something wins the day, and I just lost it. But anyway, I think you know what I mean. Slow and simple. It'll come to me at 3 in the morning. But I promise.
Yeah. But that's it's interesting. It's interesting. I think we need to. That's what you said earlier. You said sometimes you need to slow down. That's for some people. It's will never be the case. Sometimes they don't really spend enough time. And sometimes it's good to even walk. Once a year. It's funny, with my 2 best friends, including the one from New Orleans. 5 days off, and we walk. And talking about slowing down, we slow the pace. And that's where I need this. I think I really think deep when I walk. Some other people will be in, when they meditate, so we can always find something. Some when they run, but for me is when I walk. And it's when you know something about you, trying to just not be discouraged or trying to just embrace it. And to me, this is my walk. It's in a month from now. I'm very excited. So it's important.
So where are you walking?
For now, we started at 6 and we walk in France. It's a long walk from France to Portugal. But the good thing is every year we do 100, 250 kilometers, so it's 100 miles. And that's beautiful, 20 miles, 25 miles a day. And every year, we start over just at the location we left the year before. So it's beautiful, and it's in everywhere. The U.S. it's beautiful landscape. It's beautiful, and it's a mix between you stay with you can just empty what you have to empty. You it's a perfect time, and you spend time also with people you love. So
I was going to ask you that. I just remembered slow and steady wins the race, I think it is. But when you're walking, doesn't that, and I think you just touched on it a bit, doesn't that give you an opportunity, you're putting one foot in front of the other, you've got ample opportunity to be with your friends, but inside your own head working things out. And I'm guessing that when each day you're probably scribbling in your diary or in your phone or however you write these amazing ideas that I call them God winks. They just come out of nowhere, but they come when you need them. And I would think that kind of walking trail would be perfect for that.
Yeah, it is. I'm working on a new startup. In addition to, you mentioned Epic, the nonprofit, Blisce, the investment fund, and we backed just Blisce. I'm not sure if you mentioned, but we backed just businesses like Spotify and Pinterest and Headspace in the U.S. and many others. So it's a very successful investment fund. But I'm always working on a new startup. It's a nonprofit, but still, I got the idea 2 years ago during the walk. So it's perfect timing. You can go as fast as you want, as slow as you want, and that's the opposite of our days, to be honest. We just need to do things that other people want us to do, or we need to be there, kids, parents, partners. It's hard to deal with all this, but I like this week. Would say I can turn everything off and say, it's just me with myself, and back to the discussion we had at the start. Why are we here? Why I'm doing what I'm doing? Why I'm working 18 hours a day? Because that's what I'm doing. And to me, I know since I'm young, Denise, I have a reason to be on planet Earth. And I knew this. I knew that my life, and I knew this since I'm young, will be dedicated to the underserved communities. I knew this. And everything I do, the book I wrote the book for sure for everyone. But you mentioned the master class. And I have a master class, and the master class, I'm giving the master class to top colleges. I was in Tulane. Oh, it's funny, I was not too far from you. I was giving the master class in Tulane, New Orleans, a month ago. So I will go to top schools around the world, but I will also go in front of those underserved communities, because the same kind of entrepreneurs, the same willingness, the same thrive, or even more thrive sometimes. But still, they don't all have the tools. So there's nothing I'm doing which not connect to my own mission. And it's a mission, a goal, a target, but it's a mission. A lot of people are just suffering again today and tomorrow. And if people like us are not doing a bit or more, there is no good ending.
No, and I don't understand. I have never understood how America in particular was a superpower for a long time. We're in trouble now, but that's just my opinion. But we are one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Why are people underserved? Why are people hungry? Why does poverty abound? I have never understood that.
And it's, as you said, is more and more. And it's, I think the divide, when I started Epic, so I started Epic 7 years ago, I think now. It's a nonprofit. But at the start of Epic, you will see it. I started with the market research. That's I think chapter 2 in my book. Market research. You start a business. What kind of business? Any kind of businesses, you need to do market research. You need to see who else is doing something similar. If you have, it's very basic, but it's key. So many people came to see me saying, "Oh, I will be something brand new. No one else is on the market, on the industry, in the market." So, you should think twice. If you think that no one else is doing it, there's maybe a reason why. There's
no audience for it. Yeah. Exactly. So you may want to rethink that.
Yeah, twice. And then I myself always doing this market research. And 8 years ago, I started the market research. It was a basic one. I was meeting a lot of people with means, with money, with influence, and I was asking them 2 questions. The first one was, have you given time or money to a nonprofit last year? I'm sure, Denise, you would say, "Oh, yes, I." And 99% of the people I was interviewing were answering yes. Then I was asking a different question. Do you think, Denise, you have done enough?
No, I
don't. And then 95% of people I trust were answering no. And what was interesting, wherever I was going, U.S., Europe, Asia, they were answering this for the same reason. "Alex, I would have loved to, but I don't trust nonprofits. I have no time, and to be honest, I don't have the knowledge. I'm a very good, communication leader, financial advisor, whatever, but nonprofit is a different world." So for those 3 reasons, I'm doing less, and I'm doing stuff I can control. I'm giving money to my kids' school or private schools. I'm giving money to my church, synagogue, mosque, temple. And then usually when you hit the 50-year mark, you start giving to, you guess, hospitals.
Right.
Because
yes.
You don't give to, I don't know anyone
medical.
At 20. Yeah, medical, because giving always goes with counter-giving. And it's human, it's normal. We're not perfect, we're selfish. So when we give to X, Y, and Z, it's because we're looking for something in return. It's normal. But to me, I was very surprised. And how is it possible that you have so much money, crazy money everywhere? And the same day, New Orleans well. So you go to New Orleans and you have beautiful beautiful houses and beautiful, everything beautiful. And then you go to nice den, or you go to a few other places where you see that people are suffering. And then you said, why? And then is the lack of sharing. And that's why I started Epic. Said we need to make giving the norm. We need to make sharing the norm. It shouldn't be something at the end of the year to please someone or going to an event. No, it should be everywhere. It should be it was everywhere. Let's take the text. If you read anything about religion, it's at the core of any religion. Any religion is part of it. So it's something interesting. You know how we call the 10-cent coin in the U.S., right? Everyone knows.
It's a dime. It's a dime.
Yeah. Why? You know?
I don't know.
Where? Yeah, that's interesting. And no one, and I asked this question to so many friends in the U.S., no one was able to answer it. Dime is a French name called dîme, cent, D-I-M-E. And dime at the time was Middle Age. What was a dîme at the time? Was giving, it was not a donation, to be honest, it was a tax. Still, it was coming from the church. It was 10% of what you were making.
Tithing.
Yes. But the tithing
Gotcha.
was not called tithe in French, it was called dîme, dime. And what is interesting is in your pocket or in your purse, less and less, I know everything is now on Apple Pay, Google Pay, and card. Still, the reason why we have this 10-cent coin in our purse and pocket today in the U.S. come from dime, come from Middle Age, coming from Europe. It was 10%. Well, that's why it's 10 cents. Can you imagine this? But
No, I had no idea, we don't. And I have to tell you, I don't carry change with me. In fact, I discovered the other day that I have exactly $8 in my wallet, and I don't know where it came from. It's probably been there forever. I really don't use cash. Who does? And the other day, it's so interesting that you should mention a dime, because I was loading things into my car to return them, Home Depot, wherever I was going. And I live pretty much out in the country. It's a quiet neighborhood. And I was coming and going from my front door to my vehicle, which I'd moved out of the garage. And at one point, I came back to my front steps, and there's a shiny dime sitting right in front of my doorstep. It wasn't mine. And I didn't see anybody come to my door. So where did that dime come from, and what is the significance of that thing? I almost didn't want to pick it up. I was like, okay, that's just too weird for me. Maybe it's been poisoned. That's where my mind went. That's how we live these days, in mild to moderate fear of the silliest things. And I eventually picked it up, and I looked at it, and it was shiny, and it was pretty, and I put it in my penny jar. I have no idea where that came. I didn't drop it because I didn't own it. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
I keep thinking, what's the message there? Who was that message for? And why? There was. I just don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about New Orleans, I mean, you spend a lot of time in underserved areas, and, your foundation is, and I want you to go into what the foundation is and what it does, but what is the thing these days that, the one thing that bothers you the most that just is not being cured or maybe even addressed? What are you seeing over and over and over again?
So many things.
I was afraid of that.
To be clear, I think education is...
I'm glad you said that. I wrote that down, education, and I underlined it, because to me that's... Okay, keep going. I'll stay out of your way.
No, but go. No, I think... because you know this, and I know this. If we are able to change a bit the system and to just let the good ones going to the top schools and to be educated and to do what they should be doing, what they should deserve to do. And that's the worst, I think. The worst is, yes, they don't have the money. Yes, their parents don't have the money. Yes, they don't have the access. Yes, they don't have the mentors. Yes, it's unfair. And that's, I think, the same for you, and I think for everyone who is listening to us. The worst thing on earth is when something is unfair. That's why it's unfair to accept that because people have less money, they won't go to the top schools. Because they have less power, they will be abused, or strength, and so on and so forth. So to me, education is, and that's why I say entrepreneurship is the best tool we have. Because you can come from nowhere. You can come from with family with zero money, and you have drive, and you want so badly to succeed that you will be successful. Look at
and you have a vision. You have a vision
yes,
that never wavers.
Yes.
It's in you.
Yes.
You're born with it.
And that's why I think that's why it's important. I think education, and I just want also to mention just mentorship. I think if more and more people who have been successful, with connections, can mentor young people with no connection with, because that's what's hard. I have an access to you, you have an access to me. But for a lot of people, they don't have that access. So it's not for them, and it's hard. We're talking with New Orleans. I like this organization, Son of a Sense. I'm not sure if you came across this organization. Is kids, with no parents or no dads. No parents is more no dads.
Right.
And then they will be part of this group and mentors, and someone will be there. You mentioned mentors, and we mentioned mentors. I think is important, really, and that's something that everyone can do. You have more and more nonprofit organizations in your city, in your region, in your county, will be able to, ask, you have 2 hours a week, you have 2 hours a month, you have 4 hours a quarter. Please share that time with people who deeply need that help. And sometimes it's just a conversation, like what we're doing today. But spend time with people.
Some of the best, I'll call them one-sentence wonders that have happened to me in my life. One of them is probably 30 years ago. Wow. A little old man. I was in a hardware store or feed store, and I was talking with somebody. I'm not sure what I was doing or what I was talking about. And this tiny little farmer came up, and he just stood there and he listened to us for a while. And it was just a conversation, just chatting. And he said, "Honey, I got to tell you, you are the best natural salesperson I've ever heard in my life." And I wanted to slug him because I was very insulted by that. I was young enough to think a salesperson was somebody who was skeevy, wore a red jacket, and sold cars, and I didn't want to be that person. Every day since I finally figured out what he meant, I send up "I'm so sorry." I mean, I was polite to him, but I was insulted. It was one of the smartest things that anybody has ever said to me. He mentored me with a single sentence, and I didn't even know it.
Wow. And when did you realize this?
Sorry?
When did you realize this? How many years after?
I'm guessing this was about 30 years ago, and I started my business 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And being in the business that I am, I'm a web developer. I own a digital agency. I have to sell. I must be good at selling, or I don't have a business. And every time I had to, put myself out there and sell something or persuade somebody to do something, I would say, "Oh, now I know what he meant." Because when I was selling, I wasn't selling. I was being very authentic. I was being very natural about what I do and what you get from me and what the results will be. I never faked it. So he saw something that I didn't.
That's interesting. The salesy side of it. When you run a business yourself, you need to know how to sell. things to someone, and that's, you know, this. It's every day. Every day we have to sell something to someone. And if you are not ready to do so, because it's hard, you know this, then it's hard, because we have so many no's. You sometimes you have yeses, but we need to be okay getting, you know, no thank you, and sometimes it's only no, even not the thank you. But that's it, and that's back to, I think, the book, just the partnerships. You know, can you do it by yourself? Do you need to team up with someone, and at least need to know someone, or you need to be able to do it yourself? So if you're not able to do yourself, to take this CEO or this sales role, where you need to find someone able to do this. Because when you go to talk, you know, if you have to talk to a bank, anyone who can finance you, it could be a bank, it could be an investor, it could be a business angel, you name them. You need to sell something. But the same when you need to recruit someone, when you need to find a partner, it's endless and less. And it's a soft skill. The truth is, it's a soft skill. It's not something that you have learned, you know, in college or in high school. It's something you have more than others, that's for sure. That's interesting what he told you, this guy. But it's,
God bless him. I'm sure
it's a blessing to be able to. You have this blessing. It's a blessing.
Well, and I finally figured that out, and I'm sure he is long gone. He was quite elderly at the time, but I think about him daily. I mean, he made that kind of impact on me, and that leads me back to the nonprofit and how you connect with people who are underserved and who are clearly being treated unfairly. And, you know, look, the education system in the United States, I think, is just awful. I really do. At so many levels, it's just awful. It's been taken over by unions. That's never a good idea. It's bad. It's really, really bad. We've got kids that are coming out of schools that can't read, they can't write, they can barely dress themselves, and they're going to be trying to get jobs. I mean, it's terrible. It really is.
Yeah, super, super hard.
Yes. So when you go into these areas, or your foundation goes into these areas, what is it that you're teaching them? Are you teaching them mentorship, obviously, but are you trying to help them with their skills, teach them how to network, you know, give them some knowledge? What is it that you're working with these children or adults?
Yeah, adults, yeah. So it depends. Epics, we select nonprofit in the world. So we do the work. We're trying to find really good nonprofit doing such a good work in those communities. It could be in the U.S., it could be in Africa, in Asia, and Europe. We select them, and after we help them to grow, we finance them. We are the and they do different things. Sometimes they will just work on the education side. Sometimes we'll be on the protection, health, the economic empowerment. It depends. When I'm doing those master classes, that's something different. I will go directly, and when we do master classes, will be really just everything you can imagine about just, I want to start a business, or I'm running a business, but I have many, many questions, and it's trying to answer as many questions as possible. And when I'm going to those, in front of those, entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs to be, I will just giving the book for free for sure. So it's no way they will spend anything. So the goal is never to make money for the sake of making money. It's more just how can we just help people how can we empower people? And you, me, we know it's harder for a few people to get this kind of empowerment because of where they're from, because the lack of connections, because of lack of education, a lot of things. But it's not normal, and it's totally unfair. So how can we try to fix it? And states are doing a lot of things. So we can argue, corner argue if they're doing enough or they're spending their money well. But whatever we see, it's not enough. So it's on us. We need to do more. We need to find good ways. We need to find innovation. We need to just help and fix things. And to be honest, we grew up in a world where someone above us was deciding for us. So we were voting every 4 years, every 5 years, 3 years, 6 years, depending on the countries and depending on the election. Now more and more we can decide. Use your credit card. Do stuff. Be aligned. And I think that's my point, Denise. Let's finally align. We have said things for years saying, oh, we shouldn't do this. But the following day we were doing it. Oh, we shouldn't buy this product. And at the end, we were buying the product. So it's back to what I said earlier. We are humans. So let's not try to be perfect. But let's not say that we're perfect then. And let's try to be aligned.
Right. And listen, we're lazy. It doesn't matter. You know, your brain is going all the time. Mine never rests. I've got a squirrel brain. But I'm often lazy. I'll do lazy things just because it's easy, it's simple, and I've always done it that way. And then I'll smack myself on the wrist and go, Denise, you said you weren't going to do that again, and by golly, you did it again. Because it's a lazy habit, and we all have that going on in our lives. But one of the things that you're doing, well, several of the things that you're doing, and we're talking about business and, you know, social here, but there are so many different things that you're involved in that I find fascinating. But the book is, and I wanted to go back to the book, Mission Possible. I said it right that time, How to Build a Business for Our Times. So we've got about 20 minutes maybe. Where do we start if we want to build a business? And from there, let's assume that business is going to do well. We're going to be maybe not wealthy, but we're going to be comfortable. So we can be more giving with our money, with our time, with our energy, with our mentorship. So where do we start?
In terms of idea, if tomorrow you want to start something, that's your point?
Yeah, if you're going to start a business, and many of us have hobbies that are becoming businesses. I'm seeing that a lot in the podcasting industry. And that's a whole other topic. I won't even talk about that on this one. But many hobbyists are turning into podcasters, and they're upset because they're not making money. Well, it's a hobby. Yeah. You didn't treat it like a business. So let's just go there. You want to be a successful podcaster. What should you do to make it a business, not a hobby?
Yeah. Well, first thing I got from so many people, they told me, or they're still telling me, Alex, I'm waiting for something. So what are you waiting for? I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to wait for the big capital B idea, something that is very unique and no one else has been doing it before. And then I'm asking questions, but you know what? There is a big difference between being an entrepreneur and being an inventor. So,
good point.
And to be honest, most of the entrepreneurs, if it's not all of them, are entrepreneurs, and it's okay. It's okay not to be Elon Musk or Bill Gates or because yes, or Steve Jobs. Yes, those does something that's been very unique. And you will tell me, okay, maybe a few others. Yes, but how many? Maybe 50 you can name, 100 maybe. And
no, not that many. They're rare.
Of entrepreneurs. So and the
unicorns.
Reason I'm saying it, the reason, but most unicorns even are not inventors. It was existing before, but they built it differently. It was a niche. They built something. They maybe process it differently. It's for other reasons they've been successful, and that's what I'm telling them. Be careful, because the fact that you are putting you again under so much pressure to do something unique. Most people I know would never start. They will stay there on the just at the very start of the race, 1 month, 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, and then they will have so many regrets. So that's one. So it's very important. Don't wait for the big idea, because most of the time, no, you will never find it. This new venture will be my 7th. So I built 7 different startups, all very successful. And I think maybe the next one will be also very unique. Very, it's not about innovation. Innovation could be everywhere, but something that has been done before. It said, I've never seen this before. But it's okay. And to be honest, the ones I built before they were successful in that, even it was not something that will bring me to the moon, it's okay. So that's the first thing. When you start something, don't try to do something that has not been done before. Sometimes it's okay to copy. It's okay to say, I've seen something somewhere. I think I will put my own twist on it. And that's okay. You mentioned the podcast world. It's interesting because a lot of people, they believe they will go behind the mic and everything will go easy and fast. But to get the listeners and to get the guests and what you do very well, it's a lot of work.
It is.
So
and I think a lot of people don't understand that. They're saying, why am I not getting downloads? Why don't I have sponsors? Well, and I get kind of tiffy about that. I'll say, well, you've been a podcaster for 11 minutes. What do you expect? Yeah, I don't have much patience with that attitude.
Yeah, but it's funny. But I think I have more passion because I know that perfection cannot exist, and I understand that people they can easily believe that overnight they will be successful. So let's tell them today, Denise, if you okay, it won't work like this. It won't be overnight. It will take you years, and it will be hard, and maybe you will never be successful because it's tough, and then you have to define your success. If your success is to beat Denise in the number of download and people, it will take you time because Denise is doing it for years. But that's okay. Maybe that's not your goal. Maybe your goal is to have, enough people will listen to you. They will share with you backstories and you will love it and you will bring something to them. It's okay. So I think after building something that is not the big idea, point 2, you really try to find something that will be things that you love. Not in a hobby world, but something, because you will work hard. So don't start somewhere you say, I don't like the space, I don't like the industry. Don't get there. Don't go there because it will be tough. Then try to define if you can do it, if you have the skills to do it. I'm sure you have met so many of them. So many people have been, but I'm trying to do something, but I don't know anything about it. And it's fine. You can learn.
You can learn. That's right.
You can learn. But sometimes you don't have the skills. So soft skills could be easy, but sometimes you don't have all the skills in the world. So yes, then you can team up with someone who can bring those skills. But that's something also important. And then define your own turf. It was my second firm, my second startup. It was one of the first web agencies in Europe. And I was 20, Denise, 20. And I was explaining to people that the future will be the internet. It was in 96, so a long time ago. And the internet was nowhere. It was so tiny. So do you think I was going after the, big firms at the time, the huge, big firms? No, I was going after SMEs. That was I was going after small and medium-sized businesses, because then I was able to sell my stuff because they were looking at me and saying, okay, it's a young guy, but small, very agile, it will work. if I was going after those Fortune 500, do you think they would have even taken the call? No way.
No.
So
No.
that's also what you need, and it's hard sometimes because you always want to get to the league above yours, and you can try just the league above yours. I'm fine, but don't try to go 2 leagues above yours because you will be disappointed. You will be disappointed. And so it's maybe I'm not sure. We have another 5 minutes.
We can go as long as you want. And I was going to tell you, when I found out that my podcast, I'm always surprised when I find out that somebody listens to me because I live alone. I'm in my own little world. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
My office is in my home. I don't actually look people in the eye most of the time. And somebody say, "Oh, I love your podcast. Can I come on your show?" And I'm going, "What? You heard me?" I often feel invisible. So when I found out that I was at the top 5% globally, I was like, "Oh, wow, that's great." Then it very quickly went to 2.5%, and then just recently, 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, it went to 2%, and I'm still shocked. Am I ecstatic about it? Yes. Shocked. Yeah, because I just didn't see it coming.
Yeah, but hard work. You are not at that position if it's not hard work. And as you said, far from New York or Los Angeles, you have decided you own trajectory and journey, and you have been able to be successful, and you are aligned because you live where you want to live with the people we want to live with. So it's important, but the league, when sometimes I remember this, I'm sure you were smiling, and I will have to go after, but it's interesting. I got this 10 years ago, maybe more than this, 12 years ago, maybe now. I reached out to Bill Gates, and because to me, very successul entrepreneur, he decided with Melinda, his wife, to dedicate his life to the needy, the underserved. He's doing such a good work. So I said to myself, I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I want to help the world. I should reach out to the really good people. And I have no direct connection to him. So what I did, I went on Twitter and I, DM him. Do you think he answered? No.
No.
He didn't answer, and it's okay because I'm not sure he was managing his own Twitter account, but still, I was a bit shocked and pissed, and I'm also doing good stuff. 4 years ago, we were together on stage at the UN. So 10 years down the road, so we're doing a lot of things. And we're together, same conference, the Forbes 100 in New York at the UN. And in the green room, someone introduced us. And it's funny what this wonderful lady said. "Oh, Bill, Alex, I really want you to spend time together." And Bill, Alex is dubbed the French Bill Gates. And it was so funny because, and that's how that's how we know the newspapers just called me at the time. But it was so funny because I maybe don't deserve to be dubbed like this. But what was interesting about just the league, 10 years before, I was not in his league or even the league under. But 10 years after, I was able to be connected. So that's something important about networking. Yes, build your network, grow your network, wherever you are. Don't tell me that you have no network. Don't tell me, I'm not living in the big cities of no network. It is not true. You have your own network. And LinkedIn is such a great tool to increase your network and build your network, meet people. But back to this, if you want to talk tomorrow to the CEO of Walmart, you have no chance, almost no chance to have an answer. It's okay. So maybe you should start with someone just 1 or 2 or 3 positions beneath, but that's okay. So trying to really, understand well what you can do, what you cannot do, because otherwise you will certainly be like me 15 years ago, be a bit mad or sad or shocked, and it's okay. You don't have to be. It's the world we live in, and when you know this, I think it brings more joy than just than fear and anger.
It does. And listen, what I'm hearing you say, and you haven't actually said it, but I keep hearing this voice in my head. It's like, just ask. You just ask. I mean, you don't know, talking about Bill Gates, or with me, it was Larry Winget who saved my podcast. But
ask.
You don't
be
know.
Shy.
Exactly.
And I will add something. I have the 3 ask rules. It's funny you were saying about asking. You ask once, you have no answer. Please ask a second time. Please, don't be shy. If you have no answer the second time, you have to ask the third time. And you will see it works a ton. So after is the third time the person is not answering, it's you are on spam, it's on spam list, and you will never get any answers. But who cares? It's a 3 ask rules, and it works. So don't as you said, Denise, ask once. Important. If you want something, ask. But please don't accept a no answer for an answer.
I never do. And, I'm glad you said 3, because 3 is the triune. That's, for me, that's the magic number. It always has been. Everything in my life, if I'm stacking candles on the mantle, there's 3 here and 3 there. It's always in groups of 3, and I don't know why. But you do have to ask. And, listen, I've had people come on this podcast that maybe I missed them. Maybe it landed in spam. I had one the other day said, Denise, I'm so sorry. I don't want to nag, but I've asked a couple of times if you would be interested in interviewing this person. And I went, yes. And I apologized all over the place because it landed somewhere where I didn't see it. It was my fault.
Yeah. No, Dennis, thank you so much for the conversation.
My pleasure. Listen, before I let you go, was there anything else? My chair, I need some WD-40 on my chair. Was there anything else that you want to share with the audience before I let you go?
I think we shared not only on entrepreneurship, and that's I think why it was a good conversation together. Is we're talking about life, and there's no disconnection between entrepreneurship and life. Define who you are, define where you want to go, and entrepreneurship is a great vehicle, an amazing one. So you can take it. The book, and the book is about this. Is take it, just read it, and leverage what you can read it. But if you really want to go, and you are a perfect example, Denise. You are doing something. You are using entrepreneurship. You do your own stuff. You don't really care about what other people can think. The Instagram life, the fact that, and you run your business beautifully, and you're a great example for a lot of people. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, don't be shy. Do your stuff. Be clear and be sure. Don't always listen to people saying it will never work. Not for you. You don't come from the right place. Guys, do it. Move it. And there's no way. It's always, I love this one. If you want to hit an home run, you need to swing the bat. Don't stay on sidelines and watching other people swing the bat. Take the bat, swing the bat, once, twice, 3 times, and then I'm sure you will hit the ball.
And you said something too, Alex, about perfection. People are waiting for that perfect moment or that perfect name or that perfect whatever it is. And I will say perfection is procrastination, and that's the death of dreams. Get out of your own way. You're the bottleneck. Get out of the way.
Yeah. And perfection, and I think we need, and even is not what you want to hear, but this, Dennis, perfection doesn't exist.
It does not.
So, and it's okay. And it's okay. No one is perfect, and it's okay. And we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. You can try to be perfect with your family, with your coworker, with whoever you want, but you would never reach that, target. Trying is something, and trying is everything. but don't blame anyone or you, because it's imperfect. It's because otherwise pressure is everywhere. You will never do something. You will never accept something. You will never be happy. And
it'll drive you crazy. It literally will drive you crazy.
Yeah. Denise, thank you again.
Oh, thank you. Before I let you go, where can people find you? Where can they find your book?
So book could be found everywhere. So it's and the book has been awarded as the book of the month in December by the Financial Times. So it looks to be a good book for a few people. So you can buy the books online. Online, I think that's where it's in. So it can easily be found. And you can find me on social media for sure. And just we're all just in this space where we're trying to do our best to achieve something. We just need to define what is this something.
Right. Well, thank you so much. And before we wrap up today's episode, if you have enjoyed today's chat, and it was a terrific chat, and found our insights helpful, please leave us a review and rating on iTunes, and go find Alexander. He's easy to find. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more people on their own success journeys. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a review, and share your Partner in Success Radio with your friends and colleagues. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next one. Alexander, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Denise. Be well.
Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find